Welcome, welcome back, everyone. Today's another college basketball podcast. As Michigan basketball takes on UCLA tonight at 9:57 p.m. Eastern, 8:57 p.m. Central. Quite the late game. The NCAA's oriented very late games over the past couple of weeks. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much. So UCLA, for those who don't know, was one of the last four teams in the at-large field. They finished their season pretty rough on a rough note, losing their final four games, including a loss to Oregon State in the quarterfinals of the Pac-12 tournament. We all know how Oregon State ended up doing. We all know how the Pac-12 has ended up being in this tournament. So it's hard to blame the UCLA Bruins too much for that rough end of the year, given they were in apparently the greatest conference of all time. But yeah, they've made a crazy run. They upset in air quotes BYU in the first round, even though I think a lot of people saw that one coming. They got a lucky break when Texas was beaten by Abilene Christian, and then they made easy work of Abilene Christian by 20 points. And then UCLA in their last matchup played number 2 seed Alabama, who had just come off a dominant victory over Maryland. And UCLA, in one of the games of the tournament, beat Alabama in overtime, enduring a last-second three-pointer from way downtown from Alabama's forward Alex Reese before going on to dominate overtime. So this team's red hot. Let's not get that wrong. This is a red hot team coming from a red hot conference, and they shouldn't be taken lightly. But I do believe Michigan has the advantage in this one. I will just talk about UCLA's roster for a second because it's a pretty interesting roster composition. They're led by shooting guard Johnny Juzang. This guy was a top 40 recruit in the country. I think he was 36, between like 36 and like 30. Consensus 4-star player. Committed to Kentucky, played there last season. Got around 12 minutes a game, only averaged about 3 points a game. When COVID hit, he decided to come back to UCLA, a little more comfortable for him. And he's not the most efficient shooter, but this tournament has been a breakout for him. He's already UCLA's leading scorer at 15 points a game, but he's been dominant this tournament. He had 27 in UCLA's first matchup against BYU, put up high 20s against Abilene Christian as well, and he fell out of the Alabama game, but UCLA was able to offset that because of this dude, Jaime Jaquez Jr., who went completely bonkers in overtime, hit multiple step-back shots, including a dagger step-back three that basically put an end to the game. He's 6'7". He averages only around 12 points a game, normally 6 rebounds, as you can see here. But he's a capable scorer. He's a long player. He's considered a guard, but he's more of a small forward build, and he's a tough cookie. As is Tiger Campbell, the pit bull guard on UCLA. He's got a lot of hair. He has a big afro going, and he is a great floor general for a UCLA team that has one of the slowest paces in the entire country, rating 330th in tempo on KenPom. But they also don't turn the ball over at all. I mean, one of the lowest turnover rate teams in the country, and that's all thanks to this guy, Tiger Campbell. His turnover ratio is great, 5.5 to around 2, and he plays the majority of their minutes. He's not a good shooter. He's only at 25% from 3, but he can score, and he's a very good ball handler, very good player in general. He's a good leader for this team. Now, other players to watch: Jules Bernard, another tall junior guard. He's 6'6". He averages around 11 and 5, 40 to 43% three-point shooter. This guy, he's a tough cookie as well. As you can see, UCLA's guards are their strength, with Jaquez, Juzang, Campbell, and Jules Bernard being classified as between guards and small forward type players. The problem with UCLA is their big men. They don't have many good big men. Their best big man is Cody Riley. He's a junior as well. You might have heard of him from that China scandal when he was in China with LiAngelo Ball, but that's in the past. He's rebounded from that, and he's become the 5th starter on this team. He's only 6'9", and he's their center. So Cody Riley isn't a tall guy by any means. He's not even their leading rebounder, which Jaquez is. But Cody Riley's capable. He scores around 10 a game. He gets around 5 rebounds a game. He's not amazing by any means, but he's a respectable center. However, I believe that Hunter Dickinson will be able to eat him alive today if they don't double. I do think this is a big matchup for Hunter Dickinson here. I would expect him to be Michigan's focal point on offense, especially if UCLA chooses not to double him. And even if they do, Hunter should be able to get out to shooters pretty quick. This could be a good matchup for him. Now, UCLA off the bench has a couple of good players. David Singleton, if you were watching the Alabama game, this guy came up clutch. He ended up with 15 points. He had 3 big threes in the second half in overtime after Drew Zhang had fouled out. So he was huge in that game. He only averages around 5 points a game normally, but he gets good minutes almost every night. Jake Kyman. Kyman's an all-right shooter. He's not really played as much recently. He was brought in for a little offensive spark. He averages around 3.5 a game. He's not going to see too much playing time in this one. And then Jalen Clark, my bad. He's a freshman. He was a former top 100 recruit, and he got nine rebounds against Alabama. So he'll come in and he'll do some physical work. He's not much of an offensive player, but that's kind of taken care of by these guys: Jaquez, Juzang, Campbell, and Jules Bernard. So UCLA, interesting team. They really have had a breakout performance in the tournament by Juzang. Jaquez is a capable player as well. Tiger Campbell, just very fun to watch. I believe that Michigan has the advantage in almost every position group, though. I do think Eli Brooks is going to have a tough time. Mike Smith might have a tougher time, but not as tough as either LSU or Florida State in terms of guard play. UCLA's guards are at strength, but compared to LSU and Florida State, they are definitely weaker than what Michigan has seen. And the center play, backing up Cody Riley, is kind of a mishmash of not really great players. Mac Etienne's a freshman. He doesn't get too much playing time. And 6'9" sophomore Kenneth Nwuba had decent playing time against BYU, but hasn't seen the floor much in the next 2 games. So they don't have a backup option if Cody Riley gets in foul trouble, which he's prone to doing. They normally go small ball, even though their center's already only 6'9". So this is not a large team compared to Florida State for sure. They do have larger guards than Michigan, but they also don't have the overall size advantage in general. Michigan has the advantage here, I think. And UCLA they're a good shooting team. They're one of the better shooting teams in the country, but they've also gotten supremely lucky with their opponents' field goal percentages, like being like 20% from 3, like 35% overall. So I expect Michigan to be able to shoot above those percentages, and I expect Michigan to get this win today. Let's just see UCLA's overall schedule real quick. Just maybe we can discern a trend from that. I don't know if we will, but obviously coming from the Pac-12, which has shocked the world in this tournament, they were definitely considered a lock for the tournament up until around, as you can see, this skid here, losing to Colorado, Oregon, USC, and then Oregon State. That dropped their seed line from around a 7 or 8 to an 11 last 4-in team. Early on in the year, they had a bad loss to USC. They lost to Stanford as well. Their only non-conference loss was to Ohio State University, so that's not too bad. Actually, no, they did lose to San Diego State in the first game of the season. I forgot about that. This is not an unbeatable team. They're hot in this tournament. Could have easily lost to Alabama. Could have easily lost to Michigan State in this first 4 game. They were down by 11 in the first half. They didn't lose either of those games, though. They're here in the Elite Eight. Michigan needs to take care of business. Final score, in my opinion, I'm going to go with Michigan 80, UCLA 66. I believe this one won't be as close as Michigan's previous games. I could be wrong. No, screw that prediction. I'll go Michigan 75, UCLA 66. 9-point win for Michigan, covering the spread just barely. But I don't believe that this should be as troublesome a game for Michigan as previous matchups this tournament have been. Go Blue. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, Brad's going to come out with a video tomorrow, and we will as well for the Final Four. If Michigan makes it there, I will be doing more videos on that. Peace.